I'm going to talk about a term that I've heard many in our circles, many of the people who have the same concerns that I do. I'm going to talk about a term that I find silly, to be honest, and I will explain why here shortly. I had the idea to speak about this several weeks ago, but it had slipped my mind up until the other night. And this video, it's going to be a kind of disjointed rambling, but I think it's important, and I'll explain why. I was given the idea or I rediscovered or rethought the idea of making this video about this term due to a video that I had watched last week. And this video was made by a woman whose channel is called Yiz the Eunuch, and the video was called Don't Be Like Kyle. And she was referring to Kyle Rittenhouse, of course. Myself, I think young Kyle was a hero. And I've said this before in this video here. Kyle, of course, is incarcerated right now. He is 17 years old, and they've incarcerated him for homicide and a bunch of other shit, to tell you the truth. Now in this video, Yiz, she says that she gave some, what I consider very sound, very reasonable advice. And her advice was to, with the current situation right now, with all these riots and whatever's going to happen with the election here, that it's honestly probably better off if we do not go out and protest and, to put a long story short, end up like Mr. Rittenhouse here. Now, I can agree with this advice. What Kyle did, I think in a way, I can see her point that he shouldn't have even been in that situation to begin with. But I'm going to say that while she is right, I do admire the courage and the bravery that Mr. Rittenhouse showed under the time of extreme stress and duress that he was in. Like I said in that video, it is remarkable what he did, given the situation. Truly remarkable. He's very lucky to be alive. But he was calm. He kept, if his name was Luke, I'd call him Cool Hand Luke, to tell you the truth. Now, I agree with what she said, because me, myself, I find cities to be disgusting. In my life, I've only been to, I guess, 3 major cities, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and New Orleans. And I found all of them to be filthy. I found them to be disgusting and degenerate. Especially Washington, D.C. I despised the trip I took up there many years ago. It's a historical place, but that's about it, to be honest. New Orleans, it was interesting, but I certainly would want to live there. In Atlanta, just forget that. I couldn't imagine living in a city. I've always lived in very rural places, up here in the mountains, and I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I had to live in a city. I would go crazy. I seriously would. I just couldn't handle it. And to be honest, I could care less if these cities burn, to tell you the truth, because it's just degenerate and it's disgusting, Real shithole, for lack of a better word. And I could really just care less if these joggers and these people, Antifa, whatever, I could care less if they burn their own cities down, to tell you the truth. I really don't give a fuck. I really don't. Now, I know there are good people in cities, people of my race that are good, well-meaning people. But it's about high time, if you are like-minded and you see these things, it's truly high time that you should be getting out of there. I mean, this is just, it's inevitable what's going to happen. Now, that being said, I admire Kyle for going and doing this, for going up there and trying to protect property. And I agree with what Yiz said in her videos. Sound advice, reasonable. But what I was not impressed with was some of the comments that people had left. I'd left a comment saying that I thought Kyle was a hero, and that if he is basically buried under the jail for this, for defending himself within his rights, our Second Amendment here in the United States is effectively dead. It's effectively gone. And then there was some guy who replied, he's like a hero, saves another's life, not his own. Well, and this person had left a couple of other comments. Someone had left a similar comment saying that they also that Kyle did nothing wrong, and I don't see it in the least that he did. And that guy had left a comment saying nothing wrong, with like 3 question marks or whatever. I'm like, wow. So, to this person, I'm sure you're not watching this, and I could care less if you do. Perhaps you are right in saying that a hero saves another's life instead of his own. Possibly. But let's take a moment and review who exactly Mr. Rittenhouse dealt with. Joseph Rosenbaum. He was the first person shot by Kyle, killed. But isn't he a convicted child molester? I mean, convicted pedophile. The other guy, his name was Alex Hubner. I don't know. These people, they have very suspect sounding surnames of certain ethnic persuasion. He was a woman beater, you know. Been to jail several times for beating on his old lady. He hit Mr. Rittenhouse in the head with a skateboard while Mr. Rittenhouse was fleeing from the scene. While he was knocked over and sitting down, Mr. Rittenhouse placed an effective shot and disposed of this person, this woman beater. And the last person that Kyle disarmed, he literally disarmed him. I've seen the video. It looked like raspberry slushy had been sprayed into the air. This felon also had a handgun that he had drawn on Kyle. So very effective marksmanship for Mr. Rittenhouse. He was a thief. I believe he was a felon, and funny, I've heard of no charges leveled against him, of course. But it sounds like to me, sure, you may say Kyle's not a hero because he just saved his own life, but let's think about it for a second. Is it possible that young Mr. Rittenhouse perhaps saved a few children from being molested? Perhaps he saved a woman from being beaten. Perhaps he saved himself from that last idiot. But it sounds to me like Kyle is the definition of a hero. Fucking retard. But anyway, there was another comment on down, and this is where I'm going to get into the term. It was about Kyle is a hero, but I will admit that this is bad optics. Optics. Optics, optics, optics. What the fuck is optics? And why should young Mr. Rittenhouse have been concerned about optics? Why should any of us be concerned about optics? So, the first part of this video was much longer than I expected it to be, so I will try to keep this short and concise. I think optics is a very silly term. I think it's very stupid and pointless. And I will explain why now. I suppose people worry about optics. I guess it means that how the majority of people will perceive you. If you have good optics, that means that the unenlightened, the uninitiated, and for lack of a better word, I guess the normies, I guess they will have a positive impression of you or your actions whenever you have good optics. I think it's silly to worry about such things. I think it's pointless. I think it's stupid, to be honest. Now, the way I see it, I'm not worried about fucking optics. I could care less about such a stupid term, such a pointless term. And the reason why is, to the mainstream, to normies, we are already the bad guys, okay? We're already the villains because we have the wrong color of skin. We're white. And we're proud to be that. And we don't think how the mainstream thinks that we should think. So we're already the villains, you know? So I think it's pointless to worry about this. For me, myself, I could care less about optics because I'm not going to reach any normies, you know? And I'm at the point where I really don't care so much about it. Sure, it's nice to be able to wake people up, but my channel's tiny on here, you know? I have no illusions of my channel growing. In fact, it'll probably be taken down eventually. I'm sure the day's coming. So I'm not worried about optics. I'm not here to impress some mush-brained normie. And the way I see it, yeah, it's good to wake people up and everything, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The way I see it, if you're a normie and you ain't aware of what's going on right now, if you're brainwashed to hate yourself, and you haven't picked up on what is really happening, I could care less if you ever wake up. Because if you aren't awake by now, if you don't see these things, you are highly unintelligent, or you are just willfully ignorant, and I have no patience for that. I'm not here to wake you up. Because, I mean, if you're watching this, you already know. You already know what's going on. You're not stupid. You see it for what it is. So optics is fucking stupid if you ask me. It's pointless. It's just stupid. We're already the bad guys. And the time is coming where we're going to have to possibly, very possibly, act like the villain. You know? It doesn't matter. These people already have their mind made up about you. And it's pointless to try to win playing their game. It's fucking pointless. You need to get that idea out of your head. And going back to Mr. Rittenhouse, what Yiz said, I believe, once again, was very good advice, sound advice. Myself, I can't tell you what to do. If you wish to go out and protest and do that, that's perfectly within your rights to. But you should be aware that you should be prepared if you do such a thing. You should be prepared. Just like Kyle was. He was armed, he was ready. You know, and this person who had left a comment saying that Kyle was a hero, but it was bad optics. There is nothing good. There's nothing really visually appealing to me of having to defend yourself in such a manner. I mean, it's brutal, you know, it's extremely violent, bloody. It's, yeah, there's not really, if anything, I would say it was good optics myself, because Kyle showed the restraint to not just fire at will into the crowd that was chasing him. He showed remarkable restraint and remarkable marksmanship. It's very impressive. If I was in such a situation, very possible I would have just started firing into the crowd, you know? I mean, I'd be like, well, I'm screwed anyway. Might as well do what I can before the hammer falls. So it was very remarkable what he did. Truly remarkable. So am I advising anybody to go to some city and protest because you are angry, because all of this bullshit is happening? No. But I will say this. For me, myself, I could care less about these fucking cities. I could care less. I don't give a shit about them. But if someone comes up to my property, on my land, tries to harm me, or tries to harm what I love, in that situation, I want to be just like Kyle was. I can only hope to be like Kyle was. In that situation, if they're trying to harm you, those you love, your property, you know what to do.
And he is still in the field commanding troops.
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
You understand, Captain, that this mission does not exist.
So, I think it's very silly, I think it's very fucking pointless to worry about something stupid like optics, because they've already had their mind made up. I'm not worried about trying to wake people up, because all of you already know. Y'all already know what's going on. So fuck optics. It's fucking stupid, it's pointless. I mean, we're already a minority. They already have their minds made up about us. These people that say I'm a racist, anti-Semitic, white supremacist. I'm certainly not a white supremacist, though. As I've said 1 billion times before, there are many of my own kind that I despise more than anything. I truly do. So I'm not a white supremacist. I don't think we're supreme. I certainly don't. I just care about my own. So, optics is stupid. Screw your optics. Thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye.